Hey guys, welcome back. This is History of Power Rangers Season 3, Episode 27 of my show. But this is about Episode 26 of Season 3. Now, Episode 26 in the original Power Rangers 3rd season is known as Rita's Peter. But before I start talking about it, I just want to mention, since we're on Episode 26... that means we've got 3 more videos left until the Master Vial and the Metallic Armor 3-part episode. I just wanted to get that out of the way. Anyway, now getting into the actual storyline of the episode here. But before I do, I just want to mention something. I recorded this video yesterday, but I made it a little too long. So that's why I'm re-recording it today and stuff. So I'm going to record it and post it today to make up for the fact that I made it long last time, so my apologies about that. Anyway, now getting into the actual storyline of this episode here. This is, like I said, this is History of Power Rangers Season 3, Episode 27 of my show, but this is about Episode 26 of Season 3, and Episode 26 in Season 3 is the Rita's Peter episode. Now, the reason why it's called it is because of the fact that it's kind of rhymes. Anyway, what happens is basically Tommy is training one of his karate students, Danny, and then after when Aisha said that Tommy's really good at training, and then basically Rocky said that he agrees with it, that it's great that Danny and all of Tommy's students look up to him. And then basically, speaking of those two, while they were training, Tommy was telling Danny to extend his leg to get more power. Basically, he was basically teaching him his lesson, and so he's basically helping him. And getting back into what I was saying with Aisha, she mentioned that it's good for kids to have a positive role model in their lives, and that's when Ernie basically shows up, and then Ernie tells them that they look like they've been training for a while. How about they have a break? And then basically Tommy said that he agrees with Ernie about that, and then now that he thinks about it, he is getting kind of hungry, and then he said that he wants a veggie pita in a smoothie. Oh my god. And then basically what happens is Ernie says that he'll take his order, and then he asks Danny what he wants, and then Danny said that he'll have a double cheeseburger, fries, and a shake. Oh my god. But after Tommy tells them teaches him about what it puts in his body is important, how it makes him feel physically and mentally, Danny said that he'll have the same thing Tommy is having, which is basically a veggie pita and a smoothie as well. And then basically after that, Tommy and Danny get back to training, and then what happens is after that, Rita is looking through her pulsoscope at Tommy and Danny while they're training, and she's like, "That Zen-Zero thinks he's so hot. Well, I've had just about enough of the Mr. Perfect and his preachy platitudes." And then Zed's agreeing with her. He's like, "Agreed. I'd love to knock that ponytailed power punk off its pedestal." And then Rito actually makes this kicking motion. And then Rita explains that Finster's working on the monster that can do just that. She explains to them that Finster's working on the monster that can do just that. So she calls Finster over. And then she asks him what's taking so long with her new monster, and then Finster explains that he was just putting the finishing touches on it, but then basically Rita's telling him to cannon and get the lead out, which is basically telling him to hurry up. And then when Goldar sees that, he's like, "That's what I like about her. She's a real people person." And then basically what happens is, after that, Rita's like, "Tommy's right about one thing. What you put in your body is important." And he's about to get the special pita from Rita. Oh, which is funny because it rhymes, Pita, Rita thing, because it rhymes. Because basically Pita is the word Rita, just replacing the R with the letter P sort of thing. Anyway, I just wanted to get a little bit of funny information there out of the way. And then basically what happens is, then it goes into a scene, where Catherine is with Billy and Adam, and then Billy's asking Catherine, he's hoping that all these changes that are happening in her life with the communicator and stuff is not being a little overwhelming for her. And then she's saying that it is a lot to learn, and she also mentions to them that she's still a little nervous about the communicator going off. And then Adam makes a joke about that because he says that he mentions that he can remember how that felt, which is true, because at this point he's been the Lone Ranger for the remainder of season 2 and the entirety of season 3, so he kind of understands how it feels being new to that. And then basically, she's telling them that she just doesn't want to let them down, and then Billy says that she thinks she'll do okay, and then basically two of them go off on their own because Catherine's still gonna help with the moving and stuff to get moved into the house that she's living at. And then, basically what happens is then it goes into the scene where Rita and Zed are back in the palace, and then Finster's like, "Lord Zed and Empress Rita, I proudly present the Ravinator. He can eat anything." And then when they see the monster, they're all sort of impressed by the fact that they give this little bit of a shocked face. And then that's when Rita makes a joke after he sees it. He's like, "Finny, that big mouth reminds me of Rita." And then basically he starts laughing, and then Rita tells him, "Shut your mangy mandibles." And then basically what happens is after that, after Zed sees the monster, he's like, "I'll admit he's one very good-looking monster, but how are we going to use him to destroy Tommy?" And then basically what happens is Rita doesn't tell them much, because what she does is she shrinks the Ravinator monster using her wand to make it small, which then causes it to go tiny. And then all she tells them after she picks it up is, "Let's just say it's and this is, and I quote, "Let's just say it's an inside job." Sorry. Just hold on a second, guys. By the way, what's for lunch? Oh, no? Okay, if you guys saw that in the video, I completely apologize. I was just signing my paycheck, for today, because we get paid every 2 weeks at Day Program. It was being staying at home because of the whole coronavirus thing. So I had to sign them here at the house. So if you guys saw that in the video, I completely apologize. And after she said that, now getting back into what I was saying with the episode, after she said that, let's just say it's an inside job. And then basically, Zed says that, I don't know what she's got planned, but it's evil, and I like it. And then Rito said that he's telling his sister way to go because he also thinks it's a good plan, whatever it is. And that's when this part of Rita's spell kicks in, because basically, if you guys remember back in the previous video I talked about, Zordon had stated that there would be some, I also stated that there would be some residual effects, because Zordon stated in the episode previously that there was bound to be some residual effects from Rita's spell, and that's, the reason I'm bringing this up is because it plays a hand in it, because basically what happens is, Catherine starts hearing Rita's voice in her head saying, attack the White Ranger from the inside out, attack the White Ranger. From the inside out, attack. And then that's when Catherine realizes that Tommy's in trouble. And then, what happens is, Zed looks down on the earth using his visor eyes, and then he sees that he's like, Rita, my little prune Danish, come here. We seem to have hit a snag in your plan. And then basically Rita's wondering what the snag is, and then Zed tells her that your former feline flunky is on to us. And then basically Rita calls Finster over because she wants to know. And then after Finster shows up, she asks him why Cat is still picking up her thoughts. And then Finster explained that there might still be some residual effects, like some side effects from the spell they placed on her. And then after hearing that part of it, said like, now no evil plan is safe from that furball. We've got to get rid of her. Send down the Tangas. So they send the Tangas down to deal with Catherine so that the Rangers don't know about her plan. Rita's planning it. Then when the Tangas get sent down to Earth, what basically happens is when Catherine sees them, she's like, oh no, not these overgrown emus again. And then one of the Tangas is like, emus? I thought we were dodos. And then she's saying that to be calm, remember what Zordon said, and then she does the Ninja Ranger power morph into the Pink Ranger form, and then after she sees it, she's astounded by it, that she's able to tap into the power of the Pink Ranger, ninja power of the Pink Ranger, and starts fighting the Tangas a little bit. And then after that, then it goes into the scene where Tommy and Danny are still eating their lunch. Well, because basically, what happens is, that was when Bulk and Skull show up, and before they had started eating their lunch, Bulk and Skull had ordered the indigestion inducer, which is basically a meal that has a lot of sugary foods on it. And then, when they saw that, because basically Ernie thought that is Skull sure he wanted that, and then basically, I'm just backtracking here because I sort of skipped that part, but I figured anyway. I'd bring it up, and then he says, Bulk says to Skull that he's insane, man, don't do it. And then, Skull says in a Terminator-like voice, bring it on. Oh my god, I'm sorry, but that's kind of funny. I'm just backtracking here to this part since I not that I skipped it. I did sort of skip it, but I skipped it because it was a minor thing. And then after that, what happens is, while Tommy and Danny are about to sit down to have their lunch, they see that the indigestion inducer platter is brought to Skull, and then they get disgusted by it, and then Tommy said that he tells Danny, see what he means? That, now there's a prime example how not to treat your bunny, and then Danny said that he agrees with him about that. Now that's the only little bit of backtracking I'm gonna do for this part. Anyway, now getting back into the actual segment of the episode I was on before I did that backtrack, at this point, while Catherine was fighting the Tengas, Rita and Zed had sent the Shrunken down, Ravinator monster to Earth, and the Ravinator monster kind of gets a little annoyed because he's like, first they make me bite-sized, now I gotta imitate a pickle so some guy can swallow me. Ooh boy! And then he takes a bite of the food which has the Ravinator monster in it, which causes him to swallow it, and then the Ravinator monster is saying, hit the spot, let's eat! And then that's when he starts, that's when Tommy starts feeling a little bit insatiable from hunger, sort of having a taste for junk food instead of eating the pita that he had, and then I think this is basically because he's under the effect of the Ravinator monster inside of him. He tells Bulk, Skull that is he gonna finish that, and so he starts eating that, and then basically Skull gets appalled by it, and then basically he and Bulk decide to leave because they gotta work on the Junior Police Patrol bake sale. And then when Skull hears about that from Bulk, he's like, oh, yay, dessert! And now I'm gonna get back into those two because it's kind of funny what happens with them. Anyway, what happens is, after that, Catherine is still fighting the Tengas, and then after she's fighting them a little bit, she tells them that she's like, look, Bird Brains, I think it's about time you flew the coop. So basically what happens is, after that, the Tengas fly away, and then Catherine is telling the Tengas to give her regards to Rita and Zed, and she's saying, ta-da! And then she basically saying that she did it, and then that's when, in the next scene, Rocky and Adam and Billy show up where Tommy is, and then basically, Rocky, Adam, and Billy show up where Tommy is, and then they're seeing that he's eating all that junk food, and then basically, Adam's saying that what's wrong, that stuff is really bad for him, and then Danny gets a little upset because he said that he can't believe he looked up to Tommy and that he's a total fake, and then that's when then he leaves, and then that's when Catherine shows up, and she tells Billy that thinks she was feeling one of those side effects of Rita's spell that he was telling him about, that he was telling her about. He heard her voice inside her head saying that she was gonna attack Tommy from the inside out, and then basically, what happens is, when Billy overhears that part of it, he explains that they think that he tells Tommy that they should take him to the command center to have Alpha check him out. But he said that there's nothing wrong with him, a good donut won't cure. And then Billy says that it's worse than he thought. So they decide to take him to the command center to figure out what's wrong with him. And then basically, he said that he can't because he just got started, so they tell him to stay there because they'll figure out what's going on and be right back, and then he says okay, and then the Rangers the rest of the Rangers aside from Tommy at this point, teleport to the command center to figure out what's wrong with Tommy, and then that's when the alarm in the command center goes off, and then Zordon has Alpha locate the monster on the viewing globe, but when Aisha looks at the viewing globe, all she sees is Tommy, and then basically what happens is, Zordon then tells Alpha to put the viewing globe on X-ray magnification, and that's when they see the monster inside Tommy's stomach. And then when Alpha sees that, he's like, "Ay, that monster thinks Tommy's stomach is an all-night diner." And then basically what happens is, after that, they're wondering if they could help him. Catherine's wondering if they could help him, but Zordon is explaining to the Rangers that he can't teleport Tommy to the command center with the monster inside his stomach, but Catherine's wondering why she can't, and then he can't, and then basically Zordon is explaining that she has to understand that if he was allowed to allow Tommy in the command center, he would also be allowing one of Rita and Zed's monsters. And then Billy realizes that's part of Rita and Zed's plan: smuggle a monster in with Tommy and have him destroy the command center. And then Adam said that Tommy wouldn't want them to deal with that, and then wouldn't want them to put the command center in danger like that. And then basically, they decide to go back to the youth center to help Tommy, and then basically Zordon tells them to be careful because the monster eats everything, which put Tommy in danger. And then basically they head back to the youth center, but they see that Tommy's not there, and they ask Ernie where he is. And then he's like, "Oh, you mean Hurricane Tommy? He said something about getting dessert." And then that's when the rest of the Rangers realize about the bake sale. And now I'm gonna get into the minor segment with the bake sale here, because basically what happened was, for most of the bake sale, Bulk and Skull have been trying not to sell any of the food because they think that if they don't sell anything by the end of the day, Lieutenant Stone will allow them to keep, and they use these fish basically to scare off people from buying the food. And then that's when Tommy shows up, and then when Bulk sees him, he's like, "Oh great, look, it's a human vacuum cleaner." And then basically Bulk is explaining to Tommy that he knows he has to pay for some of that, and then Skull says, and then he starts taking out some money to pay, and then Skull says, and then same thing with the money process. And then the rest of the Rangers are telling Tommy that they've got something important they need to tell him. And then he's saying that, can't they see that he's busy? And then Billy says that it's really important, and then they leave the school. And then after that, that's when he finds out about the monster being inside of him, and he's surprised by that. And he mentioned that he realizes that because of the monster being inside of him, that explains why he can't stop eating junk food. And then the rest of the Rangers are wondering how they can get the monster out of his stomach. And then basically what happens is, that's when Aisha comes up with this idea, and she tells Rocky that she needs his help. So what happens is they go over to this ice cream guy, and they tell him that this ice cream stand, and he tell the person inside there that they need him to make them the biggest sundae he can make. And he's like, "The biggest, you got it." And then they bring it over to Tommy, and then he tries to eat the sundae, but the others restrain him from eating it, and because they're explaining to him about, remember what he told Danny about respecting his body and always treating his body like a temple. And then he tries to fight the monster inside of him to stop him from eating the sundae. And then the monster gets a little upset that Tommy's not eating the sundae. He's like, "Hey, what the hold up, Bob? Let's send down the sundae." And then after the second time, he's like, "Oh, no, you power punks. Suddenly I'm inside Mr. Healthy. It gets time for me to pop out." And then he gets out of Tommy's stomach, and he says, "Oh boy, could you use some breath freshener?" And then he's like, "Look, then Tommy tells them, look who's talking, Gastric Geek, and then the Rangers morph to the Ranger form to deal with the monster. And then after they morph, Catherine is still surprised that she becomes the Pink Ranger, and then they fight the monster a little bit, and then when Aisha gets stuck in its mouth, she's telling the monster that he really needs to floss. And then after they knock the monster down, Catherine says that she has to fill this monster, and then that it's time to close it. And Tommy agrees with him and her, and then basically that's when Zed gets a little annoyed. Like, he's like, "Your monster stuck his foot in his mouth," and that's when basically Goldar's like, "Maybe the only good mouth is a big mouth." And then when Zed hears Goldar mention that, he's like, "Now you're thinking, Goldar. Ha ha ha, make my monster grow." And then after the monster is made huge, he's like, "Boy, you guys are barely gonna make a light snack. I think I'm gonna eat all of Angel Grove when I'm through with you." And then they call in the Shogun Zord to deal with the monster. And then after they form the Shogun Megazord, the monster charges at them, and he's like, "It's supper time." And then they use the Shogun Megazord's fire saber to destroy the monster, and then it cries and it gets destroyed. And then Rita gets annoyed with that. She's like, "Did you see that? Make a monster grow? What a terrible idea. A bad monster is a bad monster no matter what size it is. If an idea of yours ever worked, I'd faint." And then she then says, like, "My idea? Well, it wasn't mine." And then basically Tommy's trying to apologize to Danny about what happened with him eating all that junk food and stuff. And then Danny said that he doesn't want to hear it because he doesn't want to hear any more of his lies, and that he's quitting karate. And then after that, what happens is Tommy mentions to Danny about how he was his best student, and then despite what he thinks of him, he should really reconsider quitting. He made some mistakes. And then he mentioned that martial arts is not about believing in him. It's about believing in himself and what he can accomplish. And then he says that, so what did he say? He said he gives him another chance, and then he says that he will. And then they mentioned that he mentions that they'll practice bright and early tomorrow, and then they start playing some games in the youth center a bit, and then basically what happens is Bulk and Skull is sick from eating all the junk food that they didn't sell at the bake sale, and then basically Skull's like, "Good idea, Bulk. Eat everything we don't sell." And then Bulk says that if he ever sees another cupcake, he's gonna run away from it again, screaming. And then that's when Lieutenant Stone shows up, and then Lieutenant Stone asks them how'd the bake sale go, and then Bulk says they didn't sell everything, and then basically Lieutenant Stone basically explains that where are the leftovers because he wants to give them to the elderly home. And then when Bulk overhears that part of it, he says that he does, and then he explains that in that case they did sell the food, and then they take money out of their wallets to pay for donations for the elderly home. And then after that, Lieutenant Stone is surprised by that, and he manages to make them a nice gooey sundae, but after they see it, they don't want to eat it because of all the junk food they ate previously, and they start running away from it. And then that's basically where this episode stops. So if you guys like this video when I post it, just please give this video the real best you guys can, and I will see you guys probably Saturday for the next video. So until then, guys, just please give this video the real best you guys can, and like I always tell you with this series, may the power protect you always.